Hello, my viewers. How are you doing? I hope everybody's fine. Yeah, welcome you again to another video in which we'll continue to discuss much important things about Africa. Yeah, the first concept that we're going to discuss today about Africa is African mentalism. African mentality, the way we Africans think about our continent, Africa. Initially, when the Europeans came to Africa to explore, they came to explore the land of Africa. And unfortunately, in the land of Africa, they met we, the Africans, are enslaving ourselves to our fellow Africans. So the slavery, the mentality and the concept of slavery start from us, the Africans. We enslave each other in Africa. In the early back, when the Arabs were trading within the Africans, taking their fellow blacks to their nations as slaves, and we call them trans-Saharan trade, where things were traded from that trans-Saharan trade, and the concept of slavery was initiated through the trans-Saharan trade. When the Europeans come to Africa to explore, they meet our leaders. They met we the Africans are enslaving ourselves, and they said this is a good conscience. The first people to tamper with the civilizations of Africa were the Arabs. The concept of civilization starts from Africa in a country called Egypt, where it was recognized as the first country to embrace civilization in the world. But right now, the Europeans take the civilizations from the hands of the blacks, from the hands of Africans, because we can't maintain the civilizations as African. Being civilized enough, we should not enslave our fellow Africans. So when the Europeans reach to the land of Africa, they see our people are enslaving ourselves, they are enslaving our fellow black people. So they say it is a good initiative, these people can come to our country and work for our industries. And the concept of slavery came introduced in Africa, where some Africans are captured by force to Europe, to America, to be enslaved, for us to work in their plantain industries, for us to work in their farms, where Africans have seen as a good fit for the donkey work in Europe. And now it is shifted away from trans-Saharan trade to a transatlantic slave trade. Now is a trade between the three nations, the three continents, the continent of Africa, the continent of Europe, and America as a continent too, where slaves have moved from Africa in a triangular form. Our able men, our able youths are taken to a foreign land to work. After slavery, European thought Africans' value is finished in Europe. African has nothing to do with Europe anymore. And they sat down together. They bring a concept saying it's not civilized to enslave a fellow human being like you. And when they have already exhausted the strength of Africans, and they said it's not civilized, it's not ethical, it's not religious, and it's not inhuman to enslave your fellow human being. They said we are going to repatriate the slaves. We are going to take them back to their nations. We are going to take them back for them to start fresh in their nations. And which Africa was liberated from the hands of slave masters, in the hands of slavery. And the first African country to gain its total liberty from slavery was Liberia. And subsequently, another African country like Sierra Leone was given its liberty. The reason why Sierra Leone was given its liberty, after when the whites sit together, they know the population of blacks is too much in their country, in which they want to eradicate all blacks back to their various continents. And they say we are going to take them back to Africa, and which they sat down together. And the first troop was sent to Sierra Leone, presently named Freetown. It was named Freetown before because it's where the free slaves are sent. They say this is a town of the free slaves, and it's named Freetown, presently called Sierra Leone. And then the governor of Sierra Leone was the same governor governing the Gambia, called Charles McCarthy, who was managed two countries, Sierra Leone and the Gambia. Eventually, when the Sierra Leone was conducive with slaves, he said to them, why won't we use the Gambia for a second center for repatriation of slaves? And some slaves were imported to the Gambia in an island called St. Mary's Island, presently called Banjul. That's Banjul, the capital city of the Gambia. That's why in Sierra Leone, the same culture in Sierra Leone is the same culture in Banjul. They are the same free slaves that were repatriated from Europe. And when the white thought the value of Africa is finished, they thought Africa to regain its power again. Africa is just like an eagle that mounts its wings. When we regain back our powers, they notice the industries that they built, the factories that they built has no raw materials. They said, yes, we repatriated the people of Africa back to their continent. It's very good now we know they have yielded the fruits of their labor. The continent is blessed with natural resources. They said it's good that natural resources will benefit our industries in Europe here. And they sat down again for the second time to loot Africa. The first time they enslaved Africa, the second time they come to loot Africa. They sat down in a table in Germany, in Berlin. They called it Berlin Conference, where African has no representatives. So they sat down and divided the Africa into different nations, and they called it the partition of Africa. That's the first day where they set borders in African countries. It's the first day they divide Africans. They said, the British take these parts, the Germans take these parts, the Portuguese take these parts of Africa, and the Belgians take these parts of Africa. And they divide Africa among themselves. And they come back to Africa to loot what the African has regained in that period of time. They take it back to Africa, they take it back to Europe to establish their industries, to enrich their industries. And the same raw material is being processed in Europe and sent back to Africa and sell as higher price in the African market. Because they believe that's the only place they could get the help is in Africa. Africa is blessed. Africa is blessed with natural resources. Africa is blessed with natural gifts. Apparently, they divide Africa. They come down to Africa to rule the land of Africa for the second time, where they take sole owner of Africa. And they say, they name us, they label us, we are the children of lesser gods. Where African is being the man in the hands of Europeans. Our natural resources have been looted. It's so painful to recognize that England has the greatest natural gold reserve, and England is not mining gold. Where is the gold from? Africa. And Africa is one of the poorest continents in the world, and Africa has the greatest natural resources in the world. It's high time we notice what we have in Africa, we utilize what we have in Africa to get the Africa we want. There is only one concept that can liberate us, we the Africans, is to eliminate tribes. To eliminate tribes could be the only thing that will help us as African. When Europeans sit, they call them European nations. They don't call them European tribes. When Africans sit, they call them tribes. The reason why they initiate these tribes is to block the capacity of our thinking as Africans. They give us that mentality that we are not one. They separate us from our manners. They separate us from our fellows. They separate us from our fellow black Africans. They initiate grievance. They put borders in our African countries. They separate us. We are not one anymore. That we can't be one. That's the thing that is killing the dream of Africa. Slavery has come to degrade the thinking capacity The looting of African resources has came to drain Africa. But Africa is a blessed land. It's a blessed land of natural resources. If we utilize the natural resources, we'll get the Africa we want. Thank you, and follow for the part 2. Don't forget to subscribe, press the like button, and share my videos. Comment, share your ideas, and we'll talk about it. Thank you very much.